Now, when it comes to information management, does finding trump storing?
I'm Alyssa Blackburn.
I'm Mike Loader. TechEdge starts now. Hello everyone and welcome back to TechEdge, presented by the team at AvePoint, where each episode we delve into the latest industry trends for business, IT, and their significance in today's landscape. Now today we're unpacking the benefits of real-time information for organisations, and this is an important topic and it's one that's close to your heart, I understand.
It is, and the reason that this one's close to my heart is because the amount of information that an organisation stores is prolific.
Yeah.
And I learnt this only very recently when we had to do a big garage clean out. And as I was doing my big garage clean out, I found not one, not two, not three, but 4 fondue sets.
This is how that ties in.
4 fondue sets I found. Now that cannot possibly be. Not one single family could possibly need 4 fondue sets, but I was storing 4 fondue sets. Could I find 4 fondue sets? No, not until I actually went in and did that. So it was completely useless. But our guest today is going to tell us a whole lot more about why actually being able to find information is so much better than just storing it, almost for no purpose. And I cannot wait to hear what he has to tell us.
I love that you bring us these practical examples of these things when we're talking about IT and storage management. I think it's very clever and on the money. Now, joining us is Jason Cassidy, CEO of Shinydocs, here to help us out. Good to see you and welcome to the program. We're going to need your help today.
Definitely. Yeah. Jason, can you tell us some of the advantages of finding information in real time rather than having to rely on stored data?
Yeah, there's a few different advantages. Advantage number one is just the energy that it takes to go and label all of the stored information for every possible purpose is often going to exceed what is required to just go retrieve that information. So you gave the fondue set example. I'm going to give a simple example that's practical. So let's say that there's 10,000 people watching a rugby game, and somebody left their lights on in the parking lot. Would you say, okay, would the owner of a red Toyota with license plate ABC123, please go outside, you got your lights on? Or would it make more sense to label everybody, go through 10,000 people and write down what their license plate number and their car is, just in case you need to do something with them later? Obviously, that's a ridiculous example, but often that's what we do. We think we need to do that to information storage as opposed to just finding the minimal thing that we need to retrieve it.
Another very good example of this stuff, real life example kind of stuff. But how do you balance the need for efficient storage with the benefits of finding information on demand? That's what it's all about these days.
Yeah. When you think about information on demand, it is the idea that we have turnover within our organizations. We have a variety of ways that people generate information. So the idea of saying, I'm going to have one system of record, or I'm going to have the one de facto place that we're going to train everybody on, and they're all going to use that, is never worked. It's just the reality of you'll have the engineers working in one area, you'll have other people working in another area. So the idea of how to unify the finding of the information makes more sense than trying to force people into a particular storage lane.
I think that's a really good point, most definitely. And what we have to remember is when we're trying to find information, retrieve information, we're doing it because we need it to make good decisions. And so being able to get our hands on the most accurate and up-to-date information to be able to make those good decisions is really the outcome here that we're looking at. So Jason, what strategies can you tell us that organisations can use to ensure that the information that they're looking for is reliable and accurate?
Yeah, the number one way is to actually put it in your end user's hands as quickly as possible. There's too many times where we'll be working with IT organizations or others and they say, I'm going to get my migration done and I'm going to get everything stored perfectly before I let anybody have access to it. And that's completely backwards, is you want to test the information with the people who actually need it. If a service technician needs information before they have to do a truck roll and go fix something, if the deputy fire chief needs information about a property before they send a truck out to go and remedy a situation, that's the true test of the efficacy of the information. So for you to say, or for me to say as an IT person that, no, I'm going to make sure the data is perfect before I let people have access to it, is actually skipping the actual test.
Yeah, it's a funny example though. I can think of organising my family photos and things like that, and the amount of duplicates I've got, and the amount of weird names and things that have come from iPhone or come from the camera. It's a nightmare. But can you share an example of a situation where finding information quickly was critical for decision making? Take us through a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So it's where we started with this actually was working on oil rigs, and they had some laggy way of connecting to the records management system. Obviously, it's life or death, and we can all think of in our own lifetime examples of where having access to information to do a repair on an oil rig might save somebody's life. And so we actually went through this. So we built systems to cache the information that was most likely to be used. That's just a technical term of saying it's in memory and we know what you're looking for, we anticipate what you're looking for, so we make that most readily available. And then other stuff is more on demand. So it was born out of that work. And then we found that same work that works on this kind of cool situation where you're off in the middle of an ocean works really well for a municipality or a bank or other places, because people need information when they need access to it. They don't want to have to go and, is that one in this system or is that one in that system, especially when the building's on fire.
Absolutely. And Jason, I think you really made a good point earlier when you were talking about how I would refer to sort of user-centric design, so making sure that the information is in the hands of the people who need it. So this is where I talk about the Alyssa Blackburn scale of complexity, patent pending, that is, the Alyssa Blackburn scale of complexity is that the closer you get to the end user, the less complex things should be. So if we're going to build things into systems where we're the experts in the systems and things like that, that's great. We can build in quite a lot of complexity there. That's completely fine. But as we move closer to where the user is working and the information that they're accessing, that needs to be structured in a way that works for them, that makes sure that they can get their hands on the information that they need, to go back to my earlier comment, to make good decisions for the services that they are providing. So I think that's a really valid point. And your example there of, particularly on oil rigs, such high risk work that they're doing, having access to that information is absolutely critical in that kind of area. But tell us.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, please keep going.
When we work with customers, they often have this idea of, okay, we're going to use OneDrive for our work in progress data, and then corporate information is going to be in SharePoint, and then we're going to have the engineering documents on the file share, and then we'll train people, and then we'll get executive buy-in to make sure that everybody's doing the right records management thing. And that's hard. So the metaphor that we bring is it's a Google-like search, or it's a Copilot-like search for every end user, so that the fire chief or the service technician doesn't have to be trained. They already know how to search the web for a restaurant, so now they already know how to search the entire organization to find information about the property or the asset that they're trying to research. And if you stray from that, if you say, no, where you have to know where you're going, you have to know which drawer to look in, you have to know which box to open or to ask Mike or Alyssa at the right time, then it's a fool's errand. There's too much information being created everywhere. So you start with the idea of, how do I unify it? How do I unify the program across all of my different systems? How do I search it? And then work it backwards to, where does it need to be stored to be compliant and all that. I'm not saying any of those other systems are bad. They're all fantastic and they do what they're supposed to do. However, we've all heard the stories of, the person whose job it is not to do records management saying, I don't care where it is, just get me the document.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an AI question coming.
Oh, there's 100%. There has to be an AI question coming. Would we be doing our jobs in 2024 if there wasn't an AI question on the list? But Jason, how do you see AI influencing how people find information in the future?
Yeah, for sure. And this is already happening right now. It used to be that because we had this metaphor for which box is it in, which metadata do you have, and all that type of labeling, we have library sciences and we have records management and all these types of things that still apply today. However, it is our job to automate a lot of the tasks associated with that. So that labeling is already being done with AI. So the idea of, certainly as you described earlier, optimizing data, finding those duplicate photos and these types of things, already being done by AI trivially. Then moving up a level, classification, finding things like people's names, personally identifiable information, credit cards, all that type of thing. All that is continuously being done automated. And then beyond that, the holy grail is being able to really ask questions of the data. It's not that I want to search for the right document. All I want to do is find the right piece of information. The example I always give is just saying, hey, computer, I'm standing in the hardware store. What size is my furnace filter? And then the computer just responds back, I've looked through all the documents and your furnace filter is 25 by 20 by 1 inch. And here's my recommended purchase. That's where we're headed right now. Technology already exists.
I would really like that.
If I'm standing at the hardware store, I don't know, a screw from a nail sometimes.
Yeah,
but you notice none of that has anything to do with where the document's stored. That document could have been in the record system. It could have been on your email. It doesn't matter. What matters is, can I get that information that I need in the moment that I need it?
My husband would say that I need that when I'm at the supermarket and I'm standing in front of the cans of coconut cream, because apparently I cannot go to a supermarket without coming home with at least 6 cans of coconut cream to add to the other 24 cans of coconut cream
you've got to
that
keep
we
the rest
have.
of them company.
Absolutely,
Right?
exactly. I'd hate for the coconut cream to be lonely.
No,
So
of course.
I really need that, definitely.
Jason, just to finish for us, can you summarise a bit about where we're heading? And I guess, summarise our episode today for our audience at home when it comes to finding data, finding information.
Yeah, for sure. It's so many people have been 6 months away from their electronic document management program for the last 10 years. And the reason that they've been 6 months away from it is because we keep trying to move the data somewhere. We're going to move it to the cloud, or we're going to move it to this place, and that's going to be the system that works. And quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with that if you get cost savings and all that. But on top of that, there's something else that you need to do. It is, do I always know what the information is? And can my users, without the help of Alyssa, Jason, or Mike, find the information? And if they can't, you have to do that additional thing. We're definitely headed there. There's a lot of automation that is going to help us, and we're going to see a big transformation in how we do records and library sciences in the future.
Certainly interesting times ahead. Jason, I want to thank you for joining us on the program, keeping us company and informing us all about the latest.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mike. Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, that's the program for now. Another great episode. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you to all of you out there. Hopefully you've learned something from our discussion thus far, and we'll see you next time on the Tech Edge.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.